Привет, я teacher Olisiia. Let's talk about the exact steps every beginner should take to become fluent in Russian as quickly as possible. A shortcut to fluency. What should you focus on first? What actually matters in the beginning? And what mistakes should you avoid? Today, we are going through 8 essential steps for absolute beginners in Russian. And at each point, I'll show you what to prioritize so you don't waste time on unnecessary things. So, шаг номер 1. Learn the Cyrillic alphabet. The Russian alphabet is only 33 letters. That's it. And learning it early will save you an enormous amount of time later. A lot of beginners make the mistake of avoiding the alphabet and writing Russian words with English letters instead. Huge mistake. Because if you cannot read Russian properly, you cannot read messages, understand spelling, recognize patterns, type comfortably, learn grammar naturally. For example, привет, привет, hi, пока, пока, bye, спасибо, спасибо, thank you. Я люблю кофе. Я люблю кофе. I love coffee. Once you can read Cyrillic, suddenly Russian stops looking scary. And later, when you start learning grammar, you'll notice patterns inside words. Russian reading is not difficult. You just remember the letters and read letter by letter, and you will already get the word. For example, выиграла. Look, I'm reading a letter by letter. Выиграла. Выиграла. It's easy. You'll begin to notice вы is prefix here. La is feminine past tense ending. Without Cyrillic, you miss all these important clues. So yes, alphabet goes first. Always. And when I teach my students, we also start with the alphabet. Always. Шаг номер 2. As soon as you finish the alphabet, start learning a one-level vocabulary. And do it in parallel with the next steps. Because grammar can be learned relatively quickly. Vocabulary takes time, a lot of time. There are many words in Russian. Your brain needs repetition. A1 vocabulary is around 800 and plus words. Sounds scary, but these words cover most everyday conversations. Learn words like дом, дом, house, работа, работа, work, вода, вода, water, магазин, магазин, store, машина, машина, car, есть, есть, to eat or there is, пить, пить, to drink. Then you can already build mini sentences like я хочу воду. Я хочу воду. I want water. Где магазин? Где магазин? Where is the store? У меня есть машина. У меня есть машина. I have a car. Even simple vocabulary creates real communication. Шаг номер 3. You need to master basic greetings. You need to learn привет, привет, hello, informal. Здравствуйте, здравствуйте, formal. Как дела? Как дела? How are you? Доброе утро. Доброе утро. Good morning. And others. These are your first real interactions. For example, привет, привет, hi. Then you can say как дела? Как дела? How are you? Все хорошо. Все хорошо. Everything is good. Доброе утро. Доброе утро. Good morning. Добрый вечер. Добрый вечер. Good evening. Conversations always start with greetings, not with grammar, right? And once you know greetings, suddenly you can start conversations, understand openings in videos. In my videos, for example, great native speakers feel less nervous. Huge confidence boost. Шаг номер 4. Learn how to introduce yourself. This is the second step of real conversation, and it's very important. You need to learn how to say your name, where you're from, what you do. For example, меня зовут Алисия. Меня зовут Алисия. А вас? А вас? And you? Я из России. Я из России. I'm from Russia. А вы? А вы? And you? And you can say, I'm from the USA. Я из США. Also, you can add, я студент. Я студент. I am a student. You can say, я учу русский язык. Я учу русский язык. I'm learning Russian. I can say, а я учитель русского языка. А я учитель русского языка. And I am a teacher of Russian. Очень приятно. Очень приятно. Nice to meet you. These phrases, if you learn them and remember, are not difficult and you can use them every time when you meet a Russian person to introduce yourself. These phrases immediately make you feel like a real Russian learner, right? And honestly, this is much more useful than random vocabulary like intelligent, умный, умный, successful, успешный, успешный, beautiful, красивый, красивый. Yeah, sure, you also need to know those words, but for the beginning, you don't need them. Just start with learning how to introduce yourself. First, survive conversations, then expand vocabulary later. Шаг номер 5. Learn simple verbs. Verbs are everything in Russian and in any other language, right? They carry the most meaning. Sometimes an entire sentence can be just one verb. So start with powerful verbs like я хочу, I want, я люблю, I love, я знаю, I know, я понимаю, understand, мне нравится, I like, я могу, I can. And if you know these verbs, you already can make the negative version of them. For example, if you add just a little particle like не, to letters, and you already can say я не понимаю, I don't understand, я не люблю, I don't love, я не могу, I cannot. Now suddenly you can express real thoughts. Я хочу кофе. I want coffee. Я люблю музыку. I love music. Я могу помочь. I can help. You don't need complex grammar to communicate. You need useful verbs. Шаг номер 6. Learn essential questions. Think about real life. Restaurant, airport, taxi, store, what else? Street. Questions become survival tools. Learn questions like где туалет? Где туалет? Where is the restroom? Сколько это стоит? Сколько это стоит? Сколько это стоит? How much is this? Как дойти до метро? Как дойти до метро? How do I get to the metro? Что это значит? Что это значит? What does this mean? Вы говорите по-английски? Вы говорите по-английски? Do you speak English? Можете помочь? Можете помочь? Can you help? Even if you use Google Maps and your phone, knowing these questions make you feel much more independent, especially if you go to Russia. Шаг номер 7. You need to learn polite expressions. This is extremely important in Russian. Russian has formal and informal speech. I'm sure you already know about this. And sounding too informal with strangers can sound rude. On the contrary, sounding too formal with your friends feels cold and weird. So you need to understand which phrase is formal and which one is not. Let's go to essential polite phrases. Спасибо. Спасибо. Пожалуйста. Пожалуйста. Извините. Извините. Простите. Простите. Можно? 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 Можете помочь? Можете помочь? Не могли бы вы повторить? Не могли бы вы повторить? Очень приятно. Очень приятно. These phrases make you sound friendly with the strangers immediately. And honestly, politeness can save your conversation even if your grammar is terrible. And do you know the real secret? Even if you barely know any grammar, native speakers will still understand you if you are good at the previous steps. Шаг номер 8. Learn the most important grammar rules first. You do not need advanced grammar in the beginning. That would overwhelm anybody. Instead, focus on high-impact grammar first. What am I talking about? Verb conjugation. For example, играть. Играть. To play. Я играю. I am playing. Ты играешь. Ты играешь. You are playing. Мы играем. Мы играем. We are playing. Small ending changes is huge meaning. And conjugation is actually one of the easiest grammar topics. Everything you need, just memorize the endings. Then, past tense. For example, я работал. Я работал. I worked for male. Я работала. Я работала. I worked for female. Я играл. Я играл. I played for male. Я играла. Я играла. I played for female. One small ending change. Boom. And suddenly you can talk about yesterday, childhood, memories, your travel. Huge communication upgrade. Then goes future tense. For example, я буду работать. Я буду работать. I will work. Я буду учить русский. Я буду учить русский. I will study Russian. Я поеду в Москву. Я поеду в Москву. I will go to Moscow. Now you can talk about plans, dreams, future travel, goals. Then go to basic understanding of cases. You do not need to master all Russian cases immediately. That takes years, but you should understand why words change. For example, я люблю кофе. Я люблю кофе. I love coffee. Я люблю маму. Я люблю маму. I love mom. Why mama becomes маму? That's cases. Another example. Я в магазине. Я в магазине. I'm in the store. Я иду в магазин. Я иду в магазин. I'm going to the store. Магазин we change to магазине. Again, cases. At first it looks terrifying, but later you realize Russian is actually full of patterns. And once you understand the logic, everything becomes much easier. And honestly, for a beginner, this is more than enough. You do not need advanced grammar, difficult literature, perfect pronunciation. What you need? Consistency, useful vocabulary, listening practice, communication, strong fundamentals. That's what creates fluency. I really hope that in this lesson I've managed to show you that Russian language is not that difficult. Yes, you're right, it is difficult. But if you start learning it step by step, you will get very good results super fast. So just don't give up. So the full script for this video is already on Patreon. Also, you will find there different dialogues, grammar, exercises, everything that will be very helpful for you to learn Russian. Пока-пока!